Good evening, Magister. We are the group number 6. The members are Melanie Buenaño, Ali Murillo, Alejandro Navarrete, Camila Venegas, and me, Ana Herrera. And we're going to present the topic, Psychological Foundations of Second Language Acquisition.
Today I will talk about language and the brain. This topic explains how the brain processes language and which areas help us speak, listen, and understand other people. First, psychology, a psycholinguistic and neurolinguistic study how and learn language and use language. These fields show that different parts of the brain work together to produce and understand speech. One of the most important discoveries was Broca's area. Paul Broca, a French surgeon, found in 1861 that a part of the left frontal lobe controlled speech production. His famous uh, patient house called him because that it was the only word he could say. This helped Broca identify the area responsible for speaking. Later, in 1871, the German neurolinguist Karl Wernicke discovered another key area. This one is in the late temporal lobe and is responsible for understanding language. When this area is damaged, people can still speak, but their speech is not clear or meaningful. This is known as Wernicke's aphasia. These discoveries show that language has specific areas in the brain. Broca's area helps us speak, and Wernicke's area helps us understand. Thank you. Mm.
My my name is Ali Murillo, and I'm going to talk about cognitive learning process. Okay, to learn, you first need attention, so noticing the rule, but the main thing is memory. The goal is to move declarative knowledge, knowing the rules consciously, such as the past tense in English is ed, but the procedural knowledge is using the rule automatically, simply saying I walked. The next is broadcast area. This area is the left frontal lobe, is the engine of the brain's syntax. It's not only produce speech, but also orders words grammatically. And when learning an L2, this area is under pressure, trying to apply the new rules of the L2 inside of the automatical rules of your L1. In our production, speaking in L2 has 3 steps. The first is the idea, what you do, what want to say, and next is formulation, the bottleneck where you search for the word and grammar. And finally, articulation, moving your mouth, controlled by the motor cortex. And in L2, step 2 is slow and consumes all your working memory. And finally, grading production. Grading is cognitively more demanding than speaking. And in addition to the effort of formulation, vocabulary, and grammar, you add the mental load of spelling and punctuation, which are additional rules that you must consciously manage. Learning L2 is an active redesign of the brain's cognitive process and neural network. Thank you.
Now I'm going to talk about the individual learners' differences in second language acquisition, focusing specifically on the role of age. We usually ask why some people learn a second language. Um, they learn it more easily or more successfully than the others. And from a psychological perspective, this can be explained by several individual differences, such as a age, sex, motivation, cognitive style, personality, and learning strategies. All these factors influence how quickly and how well someone learns on L2. Now, focusing on the role of age, different researchers define success in different ways. For some, success means having pronunciation close to a native speaker. For others, it means producing grammar accurately, speaking fluently, or communicating effectively in real context. Because of this, measuring success depends on what aspect of what language of the language we are evaluating. Now, one of the most influential ideas about age is the critical period hypothesis. This was proposed by Lenenberg in 1967. It suggests that there is an ideal biological period to acquire a language naturally. If someone starts learning an L2 after this period, it is more likely they will keep a foreign accent or face more difficulty reaching a native-like proficiency. However, researchers also shows an interesting contrast. Younger learners tend to be more communicatively successful in informal and natural environments, while older learners often do better in formal learning settings. Younger children are, yes, inhibited because they usually communicate with family or caregivers, and they receive simplified input that helps their learning. In contrast, older learners have more knowledge and cognitive maturity. This helps them to perform more complex tasks, even if their linguistic resources are more limited. So age is an important factor, but it does not determine everything because younger and older learners both have strength and success in learning a second language and depends on many interacting factors and not just on how old they are. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about the critical period hypothesis that has implications for teachers and learning programs, but is not universally accepted. Acquisition theories say that adults do not acquire languages as well as children because of the external and internal factors, not because of the lack of ability. On the other hand, the authors Penfield and Roberts introduced the critical period hypothesis in 1959 and in 1967, and they say that a biological determinate period of the life when language can be acquired more easily and beyond which time language is increasingly difficult to acquire. According to him, critical point for second language acquisition occurs around the puberty. After this age, people seem to be relatively incapable of acquiring a second language. An example of this is when an adult learners rarely achieve a near native accent. And many believe this is because they have passed the critical age and the critical stage for learning a language. One problem that arises from the differences between young and adult learners is that the latter often think that they are not good at learning languages. Teachers can help change this perception in a variety of ways. Such as by explaining the learning process, adapting teaching styles, helping to set realistic goals, using appropriate methodologies, and addressing the emotional needs of adult learners. Next, please. Now, sex. Most research claims that SLA is more concerned with cognitive style or learning strategies or opportunities for input and interaction with links mostly to social factors, especially in many Western cultures where some people claim that the male learners acquire language better and faster than their female counterparts. There seems to be some sex differences in language acquisition and its processes, but there is mixed research evidence. The next, please. Okay, here we can see some differences between males and females. The males' brains may be more asymmetrically organized than women for speech, and the females, women outperform men in some tests or verbal fluency, such as finding words that begin with a certain letter. So, in conclusion, sex can influence second language acquisition because males and females tend to show different linguistic strengths. Research indicates that males may have more asymmetric brain organization, as I said, and often perform better in rule-based or grammatical processing tasks. While females generally excel in verbal fluency, vocabulary learning, and memorization. These differences are also linked to neurological and hormonal factors, as well as greater um, communicative engagement among females. Overall, although these patterns may among individuals, sex-related cognitive and affective differences help explain why some learners acquire an L2 more easily than others. Thanks.
Finally, we have motivation. Motivation is one of the most important factors in language learning. Children with a good attitude towards English are more likely to work hard and keep going when learning gets challenging. So there are two main types of motivation that I have. First, we have intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation comes from your internal desires, and the actions you take are for your own satisfaction. This is a often more robust and long-lasting form of motivation. If students value a topic, they will enjoy reading about and furthering their understanding for its own sake. Uh, Second, we have extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation comes from external desires, such as for reward or to avoid punishment. This type of motivation may disappear when rewards and punishments are removed and may lead to more superficial learning. It should be noted that apart from student motivation, teacher motivation must also be taken into account for a good communication with their students. Um, Teacher motivations and their relationship with students create a relaxed classroom environment that boosts learners' motivation and improves L2 performance. When teachers feel valued, they work harder, which encourage students to be more motivated and achieve better results in the language. Thank you.